Miss Lisa Morris just joined. If you want to add her, she should be on there. And Connie Schnell. Good morning, Connie.
Good morning, Tara.
Everything go okay this morning?
Everything is, oh yeah, it's gonna be so much smoother this morning because we just learned from yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and Lisa's here.
Yes, hi Lisa.
Well, no, she's not with me. Lisa Cooper, she's out in front.
Oh, Lisa Cooper.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Joining. Yes.
It is not calculating.
Oh. Okay.
Okay.
And then I did not put in the. Hold on, let me see. This little secret column right here. Oh, no. We want to do business people as they come. We probably need to just do it twice, which would be kind of annoying, but you can then have the number of business and then do a quick, like, is that, you know what I mean? It'll sum it here.
So we need to put it in D and F. I can do that.
Next time we'll have it set with all the fun formulas and everything. And the other one just went like right in. Done. Yep. All right. I don't know why. The other one worked fine. Do you remember how to do, like, do it. D4 to D35. Oh, there we go. All right. Why did that not work? This one worked just fine. Okay, sum parentheses D4 to D36 equals sum parentheses D4 to D36 in parentheses. There.
Okay.
That's one way to do it. Okay, good morning, everyone. Let's see, we have.
Morning.
Okay.
All right, who?
Dean McKay.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm calling everyone's name and you're getting put into our roll call. Dana Dobbs.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Jamie Parsons.
You look really far away, Tara, on the screen.
Yeah. We've got the big screen going today and the little screen.
You have two pictures up there, one up close and one like you're in some kind of interrogation room.
I know.
Doesn't it?
What it looks like, isn't it? Gotta be socially distanced.
Oh, no. It will.
Oh no, did it go?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Okay. We'll do this the old-fashioned way, or
We're gonna do it the old-fashioned way. You know what? I can bring up the roll call on my screen. Dana, if you don't mind, I can bring up the roll call on my screen and just enter it in, or we can do it by hand. It'll take just a second. We had another plan and then technology got the best of us.
No, that's fine. You can bring it up if that's what you need to do.
Okay. Let me just see here really quickly. All right. Let's do this the opposite way, Tony, and why don't you tell me who you see?
okay. Are you ready?
Tara, I just joined by phone so that I could get it off of the speaker.
Okay,
So I'm here both ways.
thank you.
Connie Schnell.
Okay, we got Connie. Okay. Okay,
Lisa Morris.
yep,
E. McKay.
yes.
John Bain.
Okay,
Jamie Parsons.
Here.
okay,
Michelle Sesteric.
Here.
thank you,
Fernando.
Here.
thank you.
Danita Pickett.
Okay,
Kevin Bonhouse.
Hello.
okay,
Penny Flesher.
Here.
all right,
Sybil Murphy.
all right.
Matthew Turner.
Okay, he's a guest. Okay, so right now, oh, I have more people in the waiting room. Okay, welcome everyone. Just getting everybody recorded really quickly.
Katrina.
Good morning.
Good
Hi.
morning.
Dave Trotter.
Morning.
Okay. Let's see. Make sure I'm missing. Okay. So, let's see. So it's 8:32. We have a couple people who said that they would be here that are not quite here yet. And we're looking for 17, and we have 15.
Mm.
You didn't call my name, man. Randy Poe, I'm here.
Let's see. Yes, sir, we have you. Is Kimberly Rossetti on? Not yet. Okay. Nick Birkenauer will be joining us a few minutes late. Christy Henry. Do we have Christy? Not yet. Okay. Dr. O'Hara? No.
I'm here, yes.
Oh, yes. Okay, great. We just need one more person then. And let's see. Michelle Tyson? Not yet. Okay. Dana, we need one more person.
I saw Gina pop up.
She's voted yet.
She what, Tara?
Not been voted.
Oh. Okay.
Rhonda just joined, and
There's
someone else. Who else just joined besides Rhonda?
Kimberly.
Chris Knockelman.
Okay, great. Good morning, Judge. Hi, Kimberly.
Hello.
Okay, perfect. Madam Chair, you have quorum.
All right, thank you, Tara. So we kind of already did roll, but I guess I'll officially call the meeting to order. Thank you everyone for joining. Good morning. This is the way of our world these days, right? The Zoom and the Teams and all of that. So thank you for being here. We do have some things we have to get accomplished today. Before we do that, anyone on the call need to self-identify this morning?
Alicia's here.
I just added her. Do you have an extra pen? By any chance?
I can get one
Can you
here.
take notes?
Yeah, I can.
No. Okay, one more time. Anyone need to self-identify?
Oh, Alicia Webb Edgington, Life Learning Center.
Thank you, Alicia. Okay. So the first item up that we need action on is the approval of the May 12th minutes. Those should be in your packet that Tara sent out. So could I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Make a motion.
So move. Second.
And sorry, so because we're on Zoom and sometimes it's hard for Tara's group to see, if you could just give your name if you make a motion or second a motion, that would help them immensely.
Dana,
Yes.
can you hear me?
That's Rhonda.
That was Rhonda.
Yes.
I didn't hear her.
Okay. Rhonda, we heard you for a second. No, we can't. Not
This is
sure.
Jamie. I move approval of the minutes.
Thank you, Jamie. Can I get a second?
Parsons.
Michelle.
Derek will second.
Thank you, Michelle.
Good.
Any discussion or corrections that need to be made to the minutes? Okay, all those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, thank you. So let's move on to the committee reports. And John, I think MBO has a couple of items, so I'll let you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Dina. I'm going to start with the proposed revisions to the bylaws that are in your packet. There is no action requested today. This has to go through multiple readings before we take action. So this is our first reading of the revised changes. All the changes are highlighted in yellow. So let me walk you through the background so that you can read this in your spare time. The first one is a change to the language regarding attendance. We wanted to clarify how to attend virtual meetings and then in future how we can virtually attend an in-person meeting. So that language was updated to require a video conference if you are to vote. And the background there is we want to be able to match the face to the person's name to verify authenticity of attending. Also, the reason for that is we believe that as we talk about expanding geographically in the area that we serve, this should help people who are in the further regions of our target area participate more readily for meetings as opposed to having to drive up to the ad office, which can be a challenge at times. The second section was removing language that required a specific makeup on the committees. So for the board itself, we do have requirements from WIOA in terms of the percentages from business, as well as from I'm gonna botch this, but labor, youth organizations, and education. No, yes. So that makes a ton of sense on the board as a whole, but it's very limiting on the committees themselves. So we want to make sure that the committee chairs and the committees together can put the right teams to accomplish what their priorities are. So that has been removed. Then the final component is there is in the current bylaws a requirement for a standing committee for people with disabilities. We believe, though, that that is best served if it's integrated into the Program and Youth Committee, which itself has actually been a merger of two separate standalone committees. So the language here was modified so that it's clear. We want to make sure this is a priority of that committee, and we are considering them as we're putting our plans in place. So that's the update on the bylaws. I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any at this time.
So John, this is Dana. Just let me, point of clarification. Thank you for that. So with regard to the committee makeup, I just want to make sure that it was clear. The WIB itself as a full board still has, keep me honest here, John, still has the requirement for the 51% business representation. What we've changed is removing that specific requirement also from the individual committees. Did I say that correctly, John?
Correct. So the board itself as an overall board must be at least 51% business and at least 20% from labor and youth organizations. That is not something we can change, and nor do we want to change that. But that language had somehow made its way into committee requirements, which is not part of WIOA. And we want to remove that because it has been, quorum is a challenge. And we also believe it's a requirement that is hurting flexibility in bringing the right people together.
Yep, thank you. I just want to make sure that was clear. And then the way that we're doing this, the way that we actually have to do this is we're presenting these and then we vote on them at the next WIB meeting, right, John? So this is just the first reading and then we have a second reading and a vote, correct?
I believe that's the case, but I would like Tara to jump in and just confirm that.
Yeah, hopefully,
Right.
yeah, hopefully everybody can hear me okay. Yeah, so the way that this will be is that you're hearing it now. We will actually be mailing these changes to you per the bylaws. And then the vote will take place at the next WIB meeting, which will be in September.
Okay, thank you. I just some procedural things. I just want to make sure that we're clear. Thank you.
Hey, John, this is Jamie. I have a question about number 3, where we're talking about changing the non-WIB members from shall to may. I don't have any concern with that, but the current language as it stands right now says those members, those non-members may not vote on any committee action items. Does it say somewhere else in the bylaws what percentage of the committee the non-members can make up, so we wouldn't end up with a 90% of the committee members unable to vote?
So non-WIB members, that's a good question. I think the question that we would want to review on that, Jamie, is whether or not those are counting towards quorum. And I would argue that they do not count towards quorum if they're not voting. But it may behoove us to add some explicit detail to remove ambiguity on that point. So let me leave a note and I can discuss that with our committee. Thankfully, we have a lawyer on our committee, so I'm going to take a quick note on that, Rose. Okay, thank you, Jamie. Any other questions or comments? If you do, as you're reading through this, feel free to reach out to me directly if you would like to talk about this ahead of the next board meeting. Okay, next on my agenda from the committee report are nominations approved by the committee. We're going to do this into 2 groups. So traditionally we do this by nominee, and we're going to do that for Gina. So let me start with that, and then I'll explain why we're doing something slightly differently for the remaining nominees. So the first approved nomination from the committee is, I apologize, Gina, I practiced your name and now I've forgotten how to do it. Gina Dotat? Dothit, thank you. As you know, Andy Aiello is rolling off the board as his term has expired. And he recommended Gina to take his place on the board from Tank. So you have her overview in the packet. And I would like to make the motion to approve her for membership.
John, I'll second that. This is Rhonda.
Thank you, Rhonda.
All right, thank you, Rhonda. Hi, Rhonda. I'm glad you were able
Bet.
to join. Sorry about the technical stuff. Thanks for joining by
It's
phone.
on my end, no worries.
And Dana, do you want to do the roll call vote?
Yes, thank you. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving Gina for membership, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Or any abstentions? All right, motion passes. Gina, welcome. Glad to have you.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
Okay, the other group of nominees, the background here is we have a very specific labor requirement in terms of board membership. And one of our labor representatives has been challenged to attend due to standing conflicts. So we have been on the search for potential members that could take his spot on the board. And as a very positive result, we actually have several candidates that we brought forward. And the committee believes each of them brings something of value to the board. And due to the requirements from WIOA in terms of percentages of membership, we really need to do an all or nothing vote on these 3 candidates. Brian Bozeman from Skanska was originally found through this search for a labor representative, but due to Brian's role at Skanska, which is more of a business development role, he actually fits more into the business category for board membership, but does bring the sort of trades and construction focus that is so key to our economy here in Northern Kentucky. So in your packet, you have the nominations for Jared Tiemeyer from Ironworkers Local 44, Vicki Burling from the Building Industry Association of Northern Kentucky, and Brian Bozeman from Skanska USA. And on behalf of the MBO committee, I'm making the motion to approve these 3 candidates for membership to the board.
This is Dave. I'll second.
Thank you,
Dave. Those in favor of adding these 3 to membership, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, thank you. I don't know if any of them are on, but welcome if you are. All right, John, anything else?
Yeah, one final order of business from our committee. We wanted to do the member spotlight, and up this meeting is Katrina Bowman-Thomas, who has a really lovely mirror behind her, by the way.
Thank you. Good morning. One question before my spotlight. I just wanted to know, do we have an equity and inclusion statement? Is that part of the WIB, or John or Dana, either one?
I don't know if it's in our, good question. It's not in our bylaws. I know that we have a mission and a vision statement. I think that's something that we'd have to look at, Katrina. That's an excellent question. And I'm not sure if the ad even has one, Tara. I'll leave that to you, but that's, as we're looking at, since we're looking at our bylaws, that might not be that might be an opportunity for us to look at our mission. Sorry, I can't talk this morning. And vision statement to see if there's an opportunity to add an equity inclusion statement as well, if the board feels like that's something that we should do.
Katrina, with respect to the bylaws, there is nothing in that, nor is that really the appropriate home. But I know that we were talking about doing a strategic planning special session at some point, and I think that would be an excellent opportunity for us to talk about how to emphasize that. So we do talk about it in the MBO committee in terms of making sure we have a diverse board and looking for candidates that can help us achieve that. But it's certainly not specific. It's living in the understood world. And I think this is something that we can remove all ambiguity that we want this to be, on paper, and we lead with it. So thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you. Thank you for thinking about that. And yeah, I know it doesn't really fall into the bylaws, but like you said, when you're looking at the strategic plan, maybe that's an opportunity to look there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so Tara, can you pull up my slideshow? Please don't leave it up to me to do it.
So actually, David's pulling it up for us. Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you, David, very, very much.
Thank you so much. Oh, well, again, good morning, everybody. My name is Katrina Bowman Thomas, and I'm the Executive Director for Northern Kentucky Community Action Commission. Thanks for allowing me just to share a few minutes about myself and about our organization. So you can go to the next slide, please. So this is just a little bit about me. I am from Western Kentucky, Madisonville. Born and raised there, went to UK, attended the University of Kentucky. I have my bachelor's degree in family studies, and my master's is in public administration with an emphasis in nonprofit management. Lived in Lexington for over 20 years, and I worked at the community action there. And as of July the 2nd, I will have been out, it will be 2 years here in Northern Kentucky, and it's been a great transition, and I've really enjoyed my time and my work here. Just a very warm welcome. So when you look at the screen in the bottom right, those are my 3 children. So my daughter, she's 21, and then my son next to her, he's 18, and my oldest son is 25. So I have an empty nest, and I love it, love it. And then if you look in the far left, I've recently remarried, and so that's my husband there with me. We were out celebrating my birthday. And then the top 2 pictures, everything that has transpired over these last couple months really ignited with the killing of George Floyd, followed by Breonna Taylor. We've seen really just an outpour in our community for people just really demanding equity across the board. And so my staff and we participated in the rally in Erlanger, really a peaceful rally. And in my 2 years of being here in Northern Kentucky, it's the most diverse crowd that I've ever seen in one place. And so I'm really encouraged by what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing over these last couple months, the conversations that I've been having. I'm glad to see that equity and inclusion is really being brought back to the table in a way that I've really never seen it before. And then in the middle, one of my favorite people, one of my heroes, and I just love this saying that if you're afraid to use your voice, give up your seat at the table. And I think that it's important for all of us as leaders to use our voices, especially, in this space right now, as we're talking about equity and inclusion. I talk to so many people and they say, I'm with you and we want to be a part of the solution. We just don't know what to say or how to say it or how to go about it. And my simple answer back is first just to say I stand against racism, and to have those conversations with your family and friends around the dinner table, because that's where real change begins to happen. So you can go to the next slide, please. So just a little bit about Northern Kentucky Community Action. We have been here since 1966. Community Action, there's 1,100 community actions nationwide. We were born out of the War on Poverty by President Johnson, and also that whole era of civil rights. And so that's one of the reasons why we are really pushing the platform to make sure that we continue to talk about equity. Community actions were formed really to deal with the issues of poverty, to try to find local solutions to address the causes and conditions of poverty. So you can go to the next slide. And we do that really through 3 sets of programming. Our children's services, we have Head Start, or an early Head Start. We serve 450 Head Start children, 80 early Head Start children, all through Kenton, Campbell, Boone, and Pendleton counties. We also work with families in the home pre-pandemic, really trying to help them to deal with and stay out of and help to prevent child abuse. Our next bucket is family services. We have a neighborhood center in all of the 8 counties, and we do food assistance, rental assistance, those emergency services. We talk with families about, once we deal with those safety net issues, where do you want to go from here? And we work with them on employment, job training, and all of those pieces. And then our last bucket is our senior employment, where we work with those that are over the age of 55 to help retool them and get them back in the workplace. And we also have weatherization program where we go into the homes and weatherize those pre-pandemic and to try to make sure that they are energy efficient. And these are sort of our individual level programs. And then we do have community level programming as well. And you can go to the next slide, please. And of course, with the pandemic, we had to really flip our services on a dime and really serve our families in a different way. We really saw people just needing their basic needs, dealing with food and hygiene and again, basic energy. So you can see there some of the services that we've provided over these last 3 months, over 4,000 people with food and hygiene packets, over 5,000 people with energy assistance, over 2,000 people with homework packets, just trying to make sure that our children that are going to kindergarten are still getting that educational attainment so they can be ready. And then over almost 2,000 families with rental and emergency assistance. And I believe I said our 8 counties, and as you can see, there's Boone, Campbell, Carroll, Gallatin, Grant, Kenton, Owen, and Pendleton counties that we serve. So thank you so much for your time, and just appreciate being a part of the board. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Katrina. That was great. And thank you so much for your opening comments. Very, very good to get us thinking about that. If we aren't already, most of us are, but thank you for that.
Thank you.
Can I remind Katrina that she has one more responsibility, that she needs to nominate the next person. But actually, I believe we had someone that was nominated and could not do it. So Katrina, it's up to you if you want to nominate someone new, or we can go back to the person that was nominated and ended up not being able to participate.
You can go. You can go back to that person. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So Dave Schroeder, I believe that you're on deck then, if that's okay. Oh, you're
Dave.
Dave. I muted everybody. Sorry. Dave, you're muted.
I was supposed to be in Spain and Portugal today. Well, that didn't happen. I'm in love with Erlanger. So I will gladly take the role next time.
Well, we're glad you're with us today.
Yes.
Even though you're not in Spain.
You're all lovely people, but you're not Spanish or Portuguese.
All right, thank you. All right, so we'll move on to programming youth. I do believe that there's one action item from that group. Jamie, you have the floor.
Yeah, the Program and Youth Committee met on June the 9th. Had an update from Tara on some data analytics. Then we had an update from Ellen from the Brighton Center and everything the Brighton Center does for us. We also had some discussion about Key Suite and how the state's looking at potentially replacing Key Suite from an unemployment perspective, but keeping it for other aspects that the state uses Key Suite for as well. But one of the main things that we addressed was the child care training needs and the grant that we're looking at. We did have an update from Shannon Starkey-Taylor on that, as well as Tara, and whether we wanted to move forward with the grant on child care needs. The Program Youth Committee did vote to move forward on that. And so now it comes to the full board for consideration and approval. And Tara, I'm sure you can add more to it than I just did as well as far as the grant.
Yes, actually what we're looking for today is approval to do training for a child development associates. It's not something we normally do because that is not a high demand sector. But as we all know, as people head back to work, our child care slots have reduced. They are projecting that they could reduce as much as 42%. So in order to get people back in the workforce, we need to create more child care slots. So we're asking that you give us permission with the money that we've already received from the state to hold classes so that our clients can attend and hopefully either work in child care locations or in-home child care.
Thank you. And this does come to the full board with the recommendation approval of the Program and Youth Committee as well. So do I have a motion for approval?
Michelle Sesteric motions for approval.
John Baines for a second.
Thank you.
Jamie,
All
I just
those
had
in-
a quick, it's Alicia. I just had a quick question for Tony. Can I ask?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Are we going to use the newly formed, or have we decided, I guess it's maybe premature, EC Learn? I know that the ad has an MOU with them. I was just curious if we were going to be able to support them in this with this endeavor, which was for the group former 4C for Children.
We certainly are looping them in. We haven't made any decisions because we haven't gathered all the information.
Very good. Thanks.
So yeah, but before we vote, let me just add. So Tony, I think it would help if you gave the group an idea, just really briefly, of kind of what we're anticipating in terms of dollars and how many people we think that will serve. I know we were talking about this in terms of like a cohort. So can you just give a little bit more background and information about that?
Yeah, Dana, I'll chip in here. So we received a grant. It was the National Dislocated Worker Grant. Kentucky received $6 million. And all of the regions, the local WIB regions, were able to apply for some of those funds. So this is a multifaceted grant. We ended up receiving what I'll call more of our share. So if you take 10 regions, it was actually 5.5 million is what we ended up being able to apply for out of the pool from the state. And so our share would have been about $550,000. We actually received $789,181. So we are pleased with that result, that we were able to make a compelling case for the needs, but it is multifaceted. So some of the pieces that did not need, just because they're very operational and they fit within our existing mission and really our existing contract, is for temporary jobs. So we were able to put out the word for any organization that was a nonprofit or governmental entity in Northern Kentucky, and we received 8 applications for those organizations to be able to employ dislocated workers. So they'll go through the Career Center eligibility process as normal, and they will be filling jobs that are humanitarian, health, safety, or sanitation related. So hopefully I can recall all these organizations, but Be Concerned, Life Learning Center, Community Action Commission, Boone County Fiscal Court, Kenton County Library. There's 3 more.
CAC.
Housing Authority of Covington, Brighton Center, and I am so sorry for the one organization that I can't think of at the moment, but
Free
those-
Bank Food Store.
Yeah, Free Store Food Bank. That's the
Yes.
other one. Thank you,
Said it
Tony.
backwards, but-
Those organizations will be receiving a range of funds for temporary jobs depending on what their need is, because just as there's a much higher rate of unemployment, which we'll talk about a little bit later, there's also those organizations have a higher need and need additional assistance. So it's kind of a win-win as far as this grant goes. But in terms of the dollars, we could also use a smaller portion for training. So we are estimating that, let me see, it was some $60,000 is roughly, and it will be for 2 cohorts. Each of them, because of social distancing, will have 15 individuals. So it will, for the child care portion, not 60,000 for 30 people, no. For the child care portion, we will do 2 cohorts of 15, so 30 people. We also have training available for if the two individuals that will be hired by Free Store Food Bank, if they need it, because forklift operator is required. And then we will have training available for all of the individuals who receive temporary jobs through the 8 organizations I already mentioned, for them to have additional training as required for those positions in customer service and so forth. So I hope that answers your question, Dana, but this particular piece that you're voting on today will be for childcare, and it will be for 30 individuals to receive their childcare development associate, which will allow them to either start their own business or work in one of our local childcare centers. I did hear, I believe it was last week in a GROW meeting, that we are already aware of 3 childcare facilities that have had to close, and a 4th is considering closure because of the new ratio requirements. They just cannot make the finances work for fewer children and a higher number of staff. So we are very concerned about the childcare availability for our workforce in the very immediate future.
Yeah, it does. Thanks, Tara. I wanted to give the board, excuse me, more visibility into what this was and why we were asking. And it traditionally is not something that as a board we would talk about, but given the current climate, you know, as a board, we do need to be flexible to address these types of issues, especially when they're so impactful to our workforce. So that's why we're bringing it forward. So, so having said that, we have a motion and a second. We just need, unless there's any other question or comments, then I'll go to vote.
One additional question with the funding for the training. You mentioned to help some of them maybe set up childcare homes. Will there be dollars to actually help them with that licensure and everything that's required for that, for the childcare home, or is this just strictly for training, the dollars?
So this particular funding is only for training, but to Alicia's point, we have, I'm not sure if we didn't really announce it, but I put it in my at a glance. EC Learn is a new organization that is picking up where 4C for Children left off. And they are going to be using the Area Development District as their fiscal agent. I used to work with Sandy Woodall, who is leading that organization. We used to work very closely together when I worked at United Way. And so we have been talking and brainstorming about the additional resources, not only locally, but also statewide. Sandy's been very involved with Pritchard Committee and actually the state. They received some grant funds to help with the licensure piece and some of those barriers on the front end, Katrina. So we're hopeful that by bringing all of this together, GROW is a part of it as well, that all of us will be able to do our part with the WIB really providing the funding on the training side to be able to address this issue.
Thank you, Katrina, for the question. Any other questions before we vote? Okay, all those in favor of approving this funding, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Jamie, motion carries.
Yeah, thanks for taking care of that, Dana. So that was the last of my report. Turn it back over to Tara.
Dana, we had Carissa Schritzman scheduled to do the Business Services Committee report, but unfortunately she, because of her new role at the University of Cincinnati, wasn't able to join us today. And so if it's okay with you, she had asked if I could just provide a brief update. Really, for the Business Services Committee, the last meeting, we spent a lot of time talking about the Employer Resource Guide and provided all of the members of that committee an opportunity to take that Employer Resource Guide, which is that effort's being led by Corey Eimer in conjunction with GROW Pillar 3, but really trying to better connect the Business Services Committee. I mean, one of the things in the bylaws about the role of the Business Services Committee is certainly to focus on partnerships with our community partners as well as performance data. And so having this opportunity for an outreach resource document to our local businesses is going to be critical in that. And so if anyone, I would say if anyone on the board is interested in seeing that framework or talking about it in more depth, a number of the Business Services Committee members were going to take it back to their organizations. So I don't know if anyone on the committee has any comments about that, but if anyone else on the board would like to kind of think about what that would look like, certainly let me know, and we can get you connected with Corey. It's a document that at the moment is really more in a framework stage to think about what resources need to be more readily available for our local businesses. And then what will happen is all the various partners, so like Triad, so the Chambers, so Gateway, NKU, any organization that's employer serving in our region will be able to fill out and keep up to date, brief information about, how an organization or a business would go about reaching them. And then that will live on the nkcareercenter.org website, which is our website. And Katie Jo Kirkpatrick on our team will be kind of playing more of like an editor role, making sure that if an update is required, that happens, but that the individual organizations will be providing those updates. So that was a big part of the meeting. The other part of the meeting was really focused on data, and we thought that we could just handle that piece when David gives his KPI report later in the meeting. So that would be all for the Business Services Committee at this time.
Okay, Tara, it just occurred to me, I'm not sure that we talked with this group about the leadership with business services, with Andy transitioning off and Carissa coming on. I'm not sure that this group is aware of that.
Well, honestly, so just so everyone's aware, and I see John Baines had to step off to go to another meeting because we're finished with our action items, but we had talked about Carissa potentially stepping into that leadership position, but because she, if anyone was not aware, so she has left Thomas More and has a new position at UC in a research and evaluation role. So she's very excited about that. So congratulations to Carissa, even though she is not present this morning. Because of her new role, she needed to check and confirm with her new employer just in terms of all her various community activities. So she's not been confirmed as the new chair of the Business Services Committee yet. So, but she had, previously stated that, she wouldn't mind giving the update. It's just that, again, she had in a time of role change, as can happen, she had some unexpected conflicts this morning. So there's not been an update, Dana, I'm sorry, because we're not quite ready to make that yet. She anticipates that she would like to take over in that role, but we're not quite there yet.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, I don't know if Ellen is on to do our mission moment this morning.
Yes.
Can you hear me? I'm here.
Hi, Ellen, I see you.
Hi, how's everybody doing this morning?
Good, you have the floor.
Wonderful, thank you. And David's already on it. Perfect, bringing up the slideshow. So, wanted to kick things off. First of all, it sounds like we have a couple new board members, so I'll introduce myself for those who don't know me. My name is Ellen Bates. I'm the Workforce Innovation Director with Brighton Center at the Kentucky Career Center. Brighton Center, of course, is the direct workforce services provider and current operator for the Kentucky Career Center here in Northern Kentucky. So we like to highlight what we call a mission moment at our WIB meetings, which is really highlighting a customer success story, putting a face and a name to all of the kind of numbers and statistics that we often talk about, the data that we often talk about in these meetings. So we'll kick it off with that. And David, if you don't mind going to the next slide. Wonderful, thank you. So everybody meet Alicia Phelps. Alicia is excellent, success story from our Kentucky Career Center, and we wanted to take some time to highlight her because, as you can see, she is one of our essential healthcare workers. She is on the front lines every day of our COVID-19 pandemic, and so it seemed appropriate to talk about her story this month and tell you a little bit about what Alicia has been up to. So. Alicia is a passionate, energetic mother of 5 young children. So she's very busy. And she is also a full-time employee of Cincinnati Children's Hospital. She came to the Career Center towards the end of 2018. So we've been working with Alicia for a little bit. She has strong work history in the medical field. She's worked as a STNA and a patient care assistant, and has really, enjoyed that work, really has a passion for helping her patients and working with them. But as a mother of 5, she wanted to get a credential that would really put her on a pathway to a career and better wages to support her large family, support her young children. So she came to the Career Center, really seeking that assistance and got connected with one of our talent development specialists and became what we call a registered WIOA customer. For those of you who don't know, there are, we see a variety of customers in the Career Center. I always say that we serve everyone from GED to PhD and kind of everyone in between. And so when we talk about a registered customer, that is a customer who has actually gone through WIOA, Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act eligibility criteria. And so they're working at a deeper level than what we might call our basic career services customers, which are those customers who are coming in the door who might attend a hiring event or a job fair or, attend one of our workshops, maybe meet once or twice with a career coach. Our registered customers are really in it for the long haul. They're really with us on that journey, and we are with them on that journey as well. So as I mentioned, Alicia's been with us since 2018, and we're just, she's just made great success and strides during that time. So so she came to us seeking her medical assistant certificate, and she attended the Medical Institute of Kentucky for her clinical medical assistant certificate. And she also took the initiative to add some kind of micro credentials, some OSHA safety and HIPAA credentialing along with that as well to give her a little bit more of a leg up. She completed that in June of 2019, so about a year ago, and began really working to find that career job for her. she was really excited to land at Cincinnati Children's Hospital in September of 2019 in their pediatric surgery department. And she has been a medical assistant with them for about 9 months now. Is really loving it, has been, of course, on the front lines during the pandemic. And the other thing that we were really excited about to talk about with Alicia is really, again, that career pathway. Now that she is settling into her career as a medical assistant, she is thinking about what that next step is for her, and in the process of going back to school to get her RN and become a registered nurse and continue on that very solid career pathway in the healthcare field. So congratulations to Alicia, and just wanted to highlight one of our essential employees. And David, if you can go to the next slide. So I will, talk a little bit about, so now that we've kind of put a face to a name, I'll talk a little bit about some of that data and some of just the updates that have been happening at the Career Center. In our talent development services, virtual services has really been the name of the game. And so a couple things that we've added since we last met is we have added a career coaching session on Facebook Live. Many of you may remember that we have an employer highlight on Facebook Live weekly where we talk about an employer who is hiring during these times. And so I talked a little bit about those customers who come in the door. Clearly, with we are not available for in-person services at this time, and so we realized that our customers are really missing some crucial information that they get when they come into a door and they are coming through in the door in the Career Center and they talk with an employee at the Career Center. They're missing those resources, those partners that are available to them, and so we started our career coaching Facebook Live to really feature those Kentucky Career Center resources. So that's happening weekly on Tuesday afternoons at 1 p.m. Garrett Griffith, one of our talent development specialists, is featuring a different partner each week, a different program that is available, and really trying to make sure that we are getting that information out to those job seekers right now who we know are struggling to look for work during this time. And so trying to expand our outreach in that way and make sure that they're getting that crucial information. Some of the other ways in which we are doing that is we've transitioned a lot of our workshops to a virtual format. The most recent one that we've transitioned is our resume workshop. And like some of the other workshops that we've transitioned, we've really found some great learnings during this time that the virtual format allows us greater access to customers to attend. So normally our resume workshop is limited to 8 people. Due to we like to have people at a computer and really have it be a little more hands-on. While we transition that format to virtual, that workshop had 33 attendees this past week. And so we're able to reach a lot more people in terms of in that format. And then, like Katrina mentioned in her update about the Community Action Commission, there is a greater need for those emergency assistance services. And so the Career Center participated in 2 rural county food distributions in the month of June in Owen County and in Grant County in partnership with Free Store Food Bank and the Northern Kentucky Area Development District. We were able to serve over 200 families during those events. And we also have 2 upcoming distributions in the month of July and August, July 29th and August 19th, which will both be in Grant County to continue to serve that need in partnership with some of our partners in the Career Center. I will say that we also are utilizing those food distributions as an opportunity to make sure that those customers are getting that information about the Career Center, how they can access those services during virtual times, and using that as an opportunity to make sure that we're getting connected. And then I also wanted to provide an update about some recent grants that Brighton Center has been awarded that really complement our workforce services in the Career Center and our WIOA dollars. The first is through the U.S. Bank Hale Foundation, which is a continuation of our Opportunity Youth Workforce Navigator. This position is really designed to work with those opportunity youth ages 16 to 24 who might not necessarily fit the WIOA eligibility criteria. There's kind of a lot of I's to dot and T's to cross with that, and some strict eligibility that needs to be met. And so sometimes our youth don't always meet that right away. And so this position really works with those individuals to get them connected to employment and training opportunities outside of the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. And then the other one is through the Kentucky Bar Foundation. This is again a second year of being funded for us for removing legal barriers to employment. So for those opportunity youth, we know that things like having access to important documents, birth certificates, state IDs, social security cards, as well as credit checks and background checks and expungement, those types of things can create barriers to employment. And so the Kentucky Bar funding allows us some dollars to use to assist those individuals with removing those barriers. And David, if you can go to the next slide. And so on the business services side of things, we continue to see an increase in WARN notices. In the month of June, we received WARN notices that are affected over 300 workers through layoffs or closures of companies. A trend that we are seeing with these more recent WARNs is that they are unfortunately coming out as permanent closures or permanent layoffs. Initially at the start of the pandemic, we were encouraged that many of the WARN notices were temporary with the hopes of having people come back. The ones that we saw through the month of June were permanent, and so starting to see some of those lasting impacts. With the WARN notices, what happens when we receive a WARN is we reach out to that company to provide a rapid response, which is services that we're providing to that company and that employer to really, again, bring those resources of the Career Center to those affected workers. We typically would, in normal times, we would go on site at an employer and we would have our Career Center partners with us and talk about, how to access unemployment insurance, the opportunities through WIOA, the opportunities through vocational rehabilitation, and the other partners in the Career Center. With not being able to go on site, this is another one of those services that we've transitioned and we've modified. So we are providing virtual rapid responses. We've held 2 virtual rapid responses, and we've also held one socially distanced outdoors to meet the needs of that employer. We are seeing an increase in those still. And then lastly, I wanted to, on the positive side, again, we do have a lot of employers that are hiring during this time. There are many industries that have had to ramp up their services because of the effects of the pandemic. And so we have, we're hosting our Veterans Job Fair, which was originally scheduled for March, but we are bringing it back in July in a virtual format. And so we have 24 employers that are registered to attend in those high demand industries that will be hiring. And we'll be utilizing Zoom like everybody else, utilizing Zoom to be able to bring that connection to employers and job seekers. I do think something that's really unique is that we're going to be utilizing multiple Zoom accounts and breakout rooms so that each employer will be able to have its own space and really try to simulate a kind of real job fair experience as much as possible. We'll have our job fair committee and Career Center staff that will be kind of managing those breakout rooms and those different Zoom accounts and allow customers to navigate through that so that they will have time and opportunity to speak directly with the employers that are registered. So we're really excited for this event. Our regional workforce coordinator, Eric Owsley, has been working his butt off on this. And so we're really excited about this opportunity for the region and, and being able to bring this to our job seekers. That's all I've got. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thanks, Ellen, for that. I think, is Corey, are you going next? Because there was a question in chat I think is appropriate for you to answer if you can.
Sure, I would be happy to. We've been working really very closely with all of the Career Center partners and trying to determine the best course of action for us to restore in-person services. We've been having weekly conversations basically with the Career Center leadership. There are two major factors. One is obviously the safety and health of our staff and customers. And I'm happy to say that it seems like out of all the regions, and I'll say too that I've been in pretty regular communication with the other regions and the other one-stop operators. And we seem to be ahead of the curve when it comes to preparing our building in terms of all of the PPE that's going to be required for us to be able to provide services in a safe way. But really, one of the main considerations now is, aside from the safety and health issue, is the unemployment issue. And unfortunately, we still have a very large number of unemployment claims that are unresolved, even dating back to March and April still. The state is working very hard to get those claims caught up. And once we're in a better place with those, that'll help get us to a point where we feel more comfortable restoring in-person services as well. But again, we've been in close communication with all of the Northern Kentucky Career Center partners and leadership, as well as the different regions of the state. At this point, there are no career centers in the state that are back to offering in-person services. We hope to do that as soon as possible, but we do not have a date identified yet, unfortunately. And there are no other questions about that. I can go ahead and move forward if that's okay. If you'd like me to roll right into the operator update.
Go for it.
All right. Let's see, is David doing the slides? Yes.
Yes.
All right, I've got my own.
Yep, I got it.
Cool. Thanks, David. All right, some of this information I believe I shared at the last Business Service Committee meeting. So it's going to be a little bit of repetition to those of you who are on that committee, so I'm sorry for that. We've got some news to share in terms of our Career Center locations. We are currently in the process of moving to a new location in Williamstown. I know several of you, it was just a little over 2 years ago that you helped celebrate our moving into our current location down in Midway Plaza in Williamstown. That location has served us well. We really saw a lot of great momentum there in terms of foot traffic, number of job seekers and employers who were being served. But we did have a great opportunity to partner up with NKU in Grant County, as well as Gateway and SkillsU. And so we're going to be moving into the NKU Grant County Center. The goal is to move in August of this year, so just a few weeks away. And we believe that will have two benefits. One is a fiscal benefit. It will save us money in a time where we have some budgetary limitations, especially relative to last fiscal year. So that's one positive thing. But the other thing is really service provision. This will enable us to all of the partners really to complement each other's services. So it will be nice to be on site with NKU and Skills U to be able to serve some of the same folks in a holistic way, and also be able to just enhance the overall education workforce services really in that part of the region. So we're excited about that opportunity. We're exploring a similar move in Carrollton. We are having some discussions right now with JCTC actually in Carrollton, but nothing has been confirmed at this point. So I just wanted to let this board know that those conversations are happening, and more to come on that. But we hope to make a very similar move in Carrollton for basically the same reasons as I cited for our situation in Williamstown. We're also working continuously to deepen our engagement with employers. We want to be less transactional and more impactful and meaningful when we engage our employers. And so we're having those kind of conversations. One example that I wanted to lift up was our exploring a deeper partnership with CovTech, which I think most of you are probably familiar with, the expansion in Latonia that's made up of Blair Technologies and Regadget. So that's a great opportunity. They're needing to build their workforce as a result of the development that they've done. I think it's 200,000 square foot that they now have in the former big box locations where Value City and Burlington Coat Factory was. So we're having some conversations there, and we hope to actually do a SWAT meeting with their leadership, the Strategic Workforce Action Team meeting. And thank you to Kimberly, who's been engaged in the beginning stages of that and helping to coordinate that. We see a lot of opportunity there, and that's just one example of where we want to how we want to engage employers. And then also, finally, we've taken some steps to increase or improve our employer satisfaction rate when it comes to satisfaction surveys. What we found was that it's been, I'll be candid, it's been disappointing to see our satisfaction rate for employers hover in the higher 80s. And we've determined that the main reason for that is the very limited times that we're offering employers surveys. So the last fiscal year, we really only surveyed our employers to ask them about how they felt about our services during our 4 major job fairs. And with that comes some factors such as parking, such as food, that's influenced the answers that we're seeing. And what we want to do and what we've started to do is identify more opportunities to survey our employers on a more frequent basis and get some more input in terms of our broad services to employers. So we've already started this. As an example, we've surveyed our employers after the last virtual Discover KCC event that we did, and we received very high positive feedback. And so it's more instances such as those that I feel like we'll get more, not only a higher satisfaction rate, but a more all-inclusive representation of our services and how businesses feel about us. And next slide, please, David. And I'll be quick on this here. Social media, I'm very pleased with our momentum here. From this month last year to now, we've increased our Facebook following by 61%, which we're thrilled about. For those of you who don't already follow us or like us on Facebook, that's Kentucky Career Center _ Northern Kentucky is how you'll find us on Facebook. We've also been able to increase our Twitter followers by 43%. Again, over the past year, from last July to this July. Our Twitter handle is at NKY Career Center, for those of you who would like to follow us that way. And we're also spending time now really focusing on reestablishing our LinkedIn account, which we feel is very important. Clearly for an organization such as us, such as the Kentucky Career Center, whose main focus is workforce, we feel like LinkedIn is somewhere where we need to have an emphasis and need to really highlight that. So we're working to enhance our current LinkedIn account, which had been dormant for a little while. I'd also like to say thank you. They're not on this call, but a couple of our team members have really stepped up to help with our social media. Tina Rollinger and Haley Franklin. They've really helped. The position that we had devoted to that work, which was this part-time 16-hour-a-week position, that position came to an end on June 30. So we're kind of taking more of a collective approach and making sure we don't lose momentum with our social media. And so I'm very pleased with how we've done there. And then finally, with our print media, again, Haley Franklin, one of our team members down in Carrollton on Ellen's team, the Direct Workforce Services side, has really taken the lead in writing monthly articles for the Carrollton's News Democrat. She's done this since, I believe, February. I think, well, actually, this month will mark the 6th article that she's written. And that is being published, often picked up by our other rural counties too, because my understanding is they have the same publisher in Owen and Gallatin. So for example, this month's topic is going to focus on our virtual job fair. And so that's likely to be published in not only the Carrollton's News Democrat, but also the Gallatin County and Owen County paper. And so we're really happy to be in some print news there. It's been a little difficult to get into the Tribune, the River City News. We have had some success, but we've found it to be more challenging to get them to pick up our op-eds and so forth. So we're trying to get more in our rural counties as a result. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Corey. Okay, so if there's no questions, we'll move on to our programming updates. So Tara, do you have a director's report to give?
I do. Before I jump into the items that I was going to address that are on your screen, I was just going to take a moment to address something that Corey mentioned regarding restoration of in-person services. You all received an email from me last week when we learned about unemployment insurance appointments being offered in person this week at the Northern Kentucky Convention Center. And so I just wanted to take a moment and give you an update about that. The reason I sent that out to the group was because we knew that many of you had been reaching out to us to ask for information about UI, and because it was happening and evolving very quickly, all of the appointments were taken in 4 hours. We just wanted to make sure that there was at least a chance that if you knew someone that needed an appointment, that there might be an opportunity for that person to get there. A number of us from the WIB staff as well as the Career Center staff have been assisting the state in this effort. Many of you have heard me say that this is not necessarily the most efficient way to handle these claims, But nonetheless, I would estimate, we'll get the numbers, but we don't have them yet. Yesterday was the first day. They'll be meeting with individuals all day today from 9 to 6 that have appointments. And then tomorrow will be considered kind of like a cleanup day, is what they're calling it, where individuals that arrived yesterday and today that did not have appointments were able to schedule an appointment for tomorrow. So they're still doing it by appointment, but those are not available online because, as we know, many people may not have immediate access to online. So that was a way to handle that. I would estimate that somewhere around 500 people were served yesterday. I actually saw people crying tears of joy when their claim was able to be worked out. There just has, because of the state system being completely inundated, there were individuals that needed a simple PIN number change or a name change from a marriage. One lady said she'd been married for 15 years, but at one point in her life had filed for unemployment in the past and had not been married at that time. And so therefore, she was in the system, and the system's been around since the 70s, so it remembered her, and she needed to make sure that her name was updated in order to file her claim. So some of them are as simple as that. Some of them are actually quite complex. And so did just want to let you all know that that is occurring at the convention center, and I'm very happy to report that people were only having to stand outside for a very short period of time. We were able to use that facility. We're very thankful to Judge Knopfman for opening up the garage so people were able to get their parking validated, and for helping us to connect to the Career Center, or I'm sorry, the Convention Center, so that people were able to stand out of the elements. I think it made a huge difference toward everyone's physical safety, frankly, and comfort. And also, I think it helped just with the perception, as far as it really did run quite smoothly after the morning rush abated. So that is happening. We have been spending a fair amount of time trying to help with that, and we're hopeful that it will at least put a dent in the number of people that have been, trying to get these unemployment claims. And we're, of course, offering Career Center services. There's a table set up at that event, so we can really try to help people mentally move into that next phase of, what are you going to do next? If your job, as Ellen said, some of the temporary layoffs are becoming permanent, helping people move to that next step and saying, what are you going to do next? Where do you need to go from here? There's a lot of employers that are hiring. How do we help you get to move ahead and get back on the road of employment? So I've been very pleased with the way that transition has been going, and very thankful for the Career Center staff to be able to put up that table. So I wanted to let you all know about that. The other thing I'm just going to mention for those of you that maybe are a little bit more new in terms of why we haven't restored in-person services, it's only been a few years since unemployment has not been located in the career centers. And so because of that, a lot of people still have the mental connection with it's the unemployment office, right, as opposed to it's the career center. And so because of the literally thousands of individuals here in Northern Kentucky who we know have still not had their claim fully adjudicated, I believe it's appropriate to continue with virtual services at the moment, because so many people have the idea that if they show up at what we know as the Career Center, they're going to be able to get their unemployment claim taken care of. And the fact of the matter is that's just not possible. And so the staff at the Career Center, would not be able to handle those claims. It's a state process, and we just don't want to put anybody in harm's way with anyone who would be frustrated, by that. We are very concerned about the digital equity component of not having our resource room opened, and we're really looking forward to continuing our partnerships with all the libraries. Thanks to Kent County Public Library for all that they've done to make sure that people have access to computers and can do those job searches that they would need to do. So just briefly, in addition to that, did want to let you all know that we've had a staffing change after about 17 years of working either with the WIB or with the Career Center. Jason Ashbrook has taken a new position, so in Butler County with their WIB, and we will be obviously working to rather than just announce a hiring and replace him, we're going to take some time and really analyze all the variety of things that Jason was doing and determine what of those things can be absorbed by our existing staff members and really what's remaining that we have a gap. So if anyone has any questions about that, I'd be happy to answer them. But in the meantime, I will be the staff contact for the Business Services Committee. Look forward to working with all of you that are on that committee. Did want to update you on a number of things that are not pandemic related, because that work has been continuing to go on as well. In the last 6 months, we've negotiated a new lease agreement with the state at our Florence location. We've also continued monitoring what I'm calling the Real ID Northern Kentucky office situation. There was a time when it looked like Real ID might want to locate in the current facility where the Florence Career Center is located, which would have required us to move. At this present time, it looks like Real ID may be locating elsewhere, but we're continuing to monitor that situation just to make sure that that continues to be the right spot for us from both a financial and physical standpoint. If anything changes, we'll continue to keep you updated on that. But I was very pleased to be able to get that lease negotiated. It had been outstanding for quite some time when I started in this position. We completed our contract monitoring, as you know, and we've completed the first 2 phases of state monitoring. We're awaiting their final report now, but we've submitted all of our side of things. So, so far it looks very positive. We are continuing to provide technical support to the Career Center team, related to all things pandemic. And we, as I mentioned, have been providing personnel support on the unemployment side when appropriate. We were awarded, as we've talked about, that grant, and we've been working over the past week or so to establish MOUs with all 8 of the nonprofit and government employers for those temporary jobs. We're also working with state partners. Ellen mentioned a virtual job fair. We're working with our state partners and other WIB directors on the prospect of the state actually creating a virtual job fair platform that we could all share. And from a financial standpoint, we think that that would be positive. I'm going to stop there so we have time for our physical report. David, do you want to go to the next slide? Thank you. Oh, back one. Liberty?
Good morning. The report we have today is as of May 2020, which is 92% of the fiscal year. And if you look down at the bottom right of the report, you will see our expenditures through the end of May. We are a little bit below our normal spending compared to last fiscal year. A lot of that's due to us working from home and not traveling as much and not having as many expenses. The ad is, the WIB staff is at 73%. Our subcontractor is at 77%. And if you go down, our numbers are even lower when we get to work experience. That's for the use as well as our individual training accounts. Just because a lot of our training providers do not provide online training. There's nothing really out of the ordinary. If anybody has any questions. Great.
Thank you, Liberty.
You're welcome.
Hey, David, are you going to care for the, you can go to the next slide and cover the KPIs if you were, I assume that's you, David, that are going to cover those?
Yep. Sorry, I'm having a little bit of lag here. So when I push a button, it's taking a second. So I'm pushing the button twice and having to back up. So this is our KPI, which I'm not sure if it was in the packet, but this is just a 3-page breakdown of the same document that we go over at most of the committee meetings. This is through June 30. It's the month point in time, but also by default, it's the whole fiscal year from July 1 to June 30. Let me pull up my notes real quick. And I kind of want to start out right away by saying that you can see right here from the top that unemployment's really high. It's slowly ticking back down to, I want to say, normal levels. The civilian labor force is low. The number of unemployed people is high. But when we were talking yesterday about this, we kind of want to point out, though, that if you look at the job postings, local businesses are still hiring. Actually, we saw a huge uptick in job postings the last 60 days across almost every sector. I have a more detailed analysis I'll send out later to everybody, county and sector level job postings. But we just kind of wanted to stick with the positive stuff, that despite the impact of COVID that you can see in the UI numbers and major upheavals in the business services, the business service team is still offering some stellar support to employers around here. You can tell by looking at this slide that, you know, we've exceeded 257% of last year's advanced manufacturing contacts, 150% in IT, 120% in healthcare, 200% in construction and trades, which is a big deal in our area because most construction and trade jobs are not posted publicly. A lot of that's word of mouth. And so you can see where our business service team has definitely made strong inroads into construction and trades. Transportation and logistics, we're slowly plateauing on that. We're only, what, 119% of last year because we're kind of saturated with transportation, logistics, and warehousing around here. If you look at the middle part here, you can see where, you know, we've definitely exceeded hiring events from last year, our number of participating employers. Ooh, I want to go back one more slide because we have almost tripled the unique amount of employers that we served this year. So we're making great inroads. Our market penetration rates are high. Employer tours are down, but that's most likely because of COVID and just a changing landscape. Rapid response is a little off because of COVID. Basic career services, like Ellen said, we haven't been able to track in the door numbers since the beginning of this in March. Enrollments, we're pretty much on par for last year. Career training, we doubled from the last fiscal year. Some of that's due to tracking rollover more, people who are in 2- and 3-year programs. Internships are up from the year before. Those are youth paid interns. And then the third slide is our outcomes. And once again, this has gotten a little fuzzy and wonky due to COVID, but we're pretty much on track with where we were last year. We've discussed kind of reworking this part of the KPI to make it a little more, I don't know what's the word, more solid. You know, these are WIOA preliminary goals. So, and I kind of ran through that a little quick. I just kind of wanted to point out that similar to previous years, our enrollments is adult dislocated workers and youths are about the same. Customers who get individualized services beyond career services, beyond basic career services. Trainings have basically doubled. And then back on that first slide, we averaged 170% increase in employer outreach from FY19 through FY20. So, and that's directly attributed to the hard work of the business service team out of the career centers. And I think that's the last slide we have on that, if anybody has any questions. There was some supplemental stuff we kind of wanted to talk about with, let me see if this will work when I pull this over here. I don't think it's sharing the screen correctly. But I've built some dashboards in Tableau that break down all of this KPI stuff monthly, by county, by groups. I'll be sending some links out probably by the end of the week to the board. And if anybody has any questions or comments.
Do you want to stop sharing the screen? That way we can all see everybody in case they have a question. Thank you.
Yep.
No, that was a lot with the staff reports kind of at the end. So if anybody has questions either for me or for David or Liberty, please let us know.
One thing I'm going to do in the chat, I'm going to post a link, and this is where we've been putting all of our dashboards and analysis. There's a really neat, I think it's a really neat dashboard that shows the board makeup. We have our county unemployment rates. There's a analysis of job postings I'm working on, a 3-year analysis of KPIs, et cetera, et cetera. So, like I said, if anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to me.
Not a question, but more of a comment. Just a big thank you to the WIB staff and to the Career Center staff and to all of those who are working to get everybody reemployed and making things are running smoothly. You all have been under a lot of pressure, and I know a lot of hard work has been put in the last 3 or 4 months. So thanks to everybody. You're doing a great job. And you need to hear more of that.
Indeed. Thanks, Dave. Any questions or any last comments for the good of the group before we adjourn? All right, everyone. Thanks so much. Keep doing what you're doing. Good stuff. And we'll adjourn and we'll meet again next time. Thanks so much.
Hey, Dana.